Okay, let me share it. Let's see, Mickey.
There you
Okay, just 1 second. Good morning, everyone. We're gonna give a second for the people to come on here. Um, Good morning, Mr. Mays again.
go. Good morning.
I want to do a little something different this morning because I feel this show is gonna need it. Can you would you be so kind as to lead us in a word of prayer?
Jesus wept. That's the show. It's in the Bible.
But do you know why Jesus wept?
Yeah, it's people he quoted that can tell you he wept because of some disappointment.
Yeah. You know what? I'm weeping too. Weeping Jeremiah. Hold on, let me get some people on here. How's our sound? Shouts out to ATN News Media Group and the best producer, CEO in the world, Mickey Jordan. I need all the council people to wake up. Everybody that's out there in Facebook land need to wake up. You need to share this. This is going to be one incredible show that you do not want to miss today. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss this one. Mr. Mays, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and get started and on how I feel this morning, and then you know how we do. You just kick in and let me know how you feel at any time. What you gonna do anyway? I am. Now let me know if I'm right. You were president of Flint City Council, and I remember the day that you came up with different ad hoc committees. And if I'm right, I remember that you appointed Liddell Lewis and Judy Priestley to be on these ad hoc committees to go and gather information because you know everybody can't work outside no matter what y'all little attorney down there telling y'all. More than two people can gather together outside of a council meeting. And you put them on there to work on this ad hoc committee on this ARPA budget for them to come back to the council and all of y'all decide what money go in which brackets. Now, am I right? Or what was you thinking when you appointed this ad hoc committee?
Yeah, well, the president of the city council sets the agenda. It's the contact person for the media. Everybody contacts the president. He's running point, he or she.
Mm-hmm.
So once I was elected president, and you know I had to put that together, I wanted to share the wealth based upon who had supported me and who didn't support me. I wanted to share the wealth. I made Tanya Burns finance chair.
Yes,
That's the most important committee. Mm-hmm. I made Priestley vice chair of finance. And I made Jared Winter Carter governmental ops, governmental operations committee, how the government operate. That's the second most important committee.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, and then I offered people chairmanships.
Yeah.
Um, the vice president position had been dealt with, and that would have been either Jerry Winfrey Carter or Liddell Lewis, but Liddell Lewis and Quincy Murphy then messed that up, and they gave it to Herkenroder, which I thought was somewhat misguided.
That was dumb.
And then the ad hoc committees on the rules, I tried to be inclusive. I think I put Herkenroder and somebody on that ad hoc committee so we could change and fix the rules. That has never happened. I did appoint um, Priestley and Liddell Lewis on the ad hoc committee for the ARPA funds because the ARPA funds was bigger than the general fund budget, 94 million. And the idea is under the Open Meetings Act, if you have three or more council people meet outside of a meeting without posting it and inviting the public and allow public speaking under the Open Meetings Act, it's illegal. So I would keep those ad hoc committees to two people, and they were supposed to gather information. It takes two council persons to call a special meeting. They get with staff and secretaries, and two can say, hey, we want a special meeting to talk about the ARPA funds.
Right.
And so I encouraged them to do that. I think what they misunderstood in their newness as council persons.
Infant stages. I like when you say that.
The infant stages of their council
The infant stages.
career. They thought that they were being appointed to go and make rules and meet with the administration and the mayor. They thought they had more power than they did, but they were really empowered to gather information, call a special meeting, and the council as a whole would make decisions.
Right.
I think that's why you seen a week or so ago, Priestley and Liddell Lewis presented this proposed budget, and it's titled at the top, Flint City Council proposed ARPA budget, but it really wasn't a council budget. That was misleading to the media, to the public.
Yes, it was.
And it was really a Priestley and Liddell Lewis ad hoc committee proposed budget, and it should have been titled as such. It don't become a city council proposed budget until 5 or more council people vote on it. That has not happened yet. When I looked at the budget, one of the biggest categories for residents and voters, and you can tell from the stacks of requests and applications we got, is home repair and improvement grants. This is money that don't have to be paid back. People can fix their roofs, put vinyl siding, they can do windows, they can do home repairs. It qualifies. And so that's one of the main things I want to do with the 94 million. I want to make sure that residents, not 10 or 20 residents, but hundreds of residents could benefit from the COVID-19 money. I just didn't want to see the big shots.
There you go.
Land Bank, United Way,
all the same little
all
groups.
of the same people who normally gets money. Sometimes you have to let the voters, the residents, get money. I thought that was a simple proposal.
Right.
And that's what I was trying to do in my council president leadership. Share the wealth with some of the residents and make it enough money where you could feel it. If you do, as in the mayor's proposed ARPA budget, $2 million, that might only touch a couple hundred people.
Right.
It wouldn't take care of all of the people who have showed interest and applied. In the Judith Priestley and Liddell budget, $5 million. I don't think that would handle it neither. 10, 12, 15 million is kind of what I was looking at, because the minute that we release that money and you see construction people doing people's roofs and the word spread, to be double the amount
Right.
of people who
Right.
apply.
Yeah.
So you might start out with 500 or 600 residents who listen to me
Right.
and they put in that request and application. But what kind of threw me off about that was when, as president, I created the
You
application.
sure did.
I brought it to the council
Yes, you
for
did.
final approval.
Yeah.
I didn't just say this was a President Eric Mays
And
application.
this is what we're gonna do. Nope.
No,
They voted.
I brought it to
Mhm.
City Council. You can look at the Valentine's Day meeting,
Yep.
February 14th, 2022, and the vote was 6-2 to make that a legitimate legal request form, and people start putting them in. They're still putting them in to this day.
Yes, they are.
That's why when the newly appointed deputy chief of staff, whether that deputy chief of staff is a legal appointment or illegal appointment based on the numbers of appointments
Which
in
we
the
don't
charter,
know.
we don't know yet because he came on in the last 2 weeks.
Well, you've
This-
been asking for organizational church since 2019 when it first
Yeah.
took place. I
You
remember
know,
that.
had I not ran for mayor, I don't think people would have turned on me on the council, and I would have still been the council president.
You think that's what it was? You
Yeah,
know
I
politics,
know
so.
that's what it was.
Okay.
When you set the agenda, when you speak into the media, when you're the leadership of that legislative body, and then you sign up to run for mayor,
Uh-huh.
the mayor gets nervous, which he did.
Yes.
Then he talks to the city attorney.
Yes.
If you look at it, the city attorney was appointed on the same day I was removed. He told the city council that they could remove me legally. We're in court on that. We're in the Court of Appeals because you can't just vote and remove
That's
the
just
council
crazy.
president.
That's just crazy.
And so all of those dynamics, I would submit to the public that had I not signed up to run for mayor, Mr. Neely, Quincy Murphy, Liddell Lewis,
Wouldn't have got
Hurricane
nervous.
Rhoda, and Worthing, the people who didn't vote for me, wouldn't have went to pulling on Piper and Priestley
Mhm.
in order to take me out.
Mhm.
They couldn't budge Jerry Winter Carter
Okay.
and Tanya Burns, so to speak, but they was able to get to Piper and Priestley. Piper, he wanted to
I was
be
gonna
the
say he
president.
kind of
Yeah.
he kind
He
of go
wanted
back
to
and
be
forth
the
a little bit.
president.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that's just like Maurice Davis and Kate Fields. Maurice never should have put Kate Fields in as president, and Liddell Lewis and Quincy Murphy never should have voted to put Piper in as
He never
president.
should have been on council.
Because when you look at the Supreme Court of the United States, even though it's a nonpartisan body, the decisions they make fall along Democratic and Republican lines. We are a nonpartisan council, but when you look at Priestley, Piper, this is a strong Black Democratic community.
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna say it again, a strong Black Democratic community.
Which is facts.
I don't know if Liddell Lewis and Quincy are strong Black Democrats. I just know that they've jumped ship for whatever reason, and they put the white Republicans in leadership positions on the Flint City Council, and that's problematic. Priestley sits on the Genesee County Republican Party Executive Board. Piper and his business, Republican philosophy,
Judy.
and Hurricane Road. I just didn't think in 2022, particularly in this important election, all across the nation, you see the tug of war between Democrats and Republicans, Herschel Walker and Warnock in Georgia,
Right.
all across the nation, and Flint is no different.
Right.
I'm asking the voters to look at who are the strong Democrats in your community and vote accordingly. Even Mr. Neely, I wouldn't collaborate with Worthing, Priestley, and Piper over Mays, Winfrey Carter and Tanya Burns, because that's your strong Democratic base. I wouldn't sell my community out for votes in a certain way. For an example, I'm going to give you two examples. One, you'll see something coming up this week.
Okay.
You'll see the Isley brothers, I think, at the Capitol Theater.
Yes.
I think last week you see, what was it, SWV and Drew Hill Neal
Oh
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, well, when we did with the Weave administration and whatever, when we did the $31 million for the Capitol Theater, I didn't expect that you would see Neely down in the middle of that. Just like most everything.
So
like
was he on stage with Drew Hill?
I don't know, but he didn't
if
have
he
nothing
get up there
to do
with Ron Isley, they ought to boo him.
when we was putting that together. In other words, even something like that, when we work to make stuff happen, and then people come in and get the benefits. For another example, when you drive around the city of Flint right now, you see a lot of Neely yard signs at stop signs and corners.
Yes, you
That's
do.
illegal.
Yes, you do.
It's illegal for the chief elected officer of the city to break the law, trying to get elected. You're supposed to put them signs in people's yards.
And you're not lying. Tell the people to drive down by Hurley, drive down Fifth Avenue, drive in front of the Taco House, La Familia, and show drive down Martin Luther King.
Well, you can see them on Martin Luther King and Home Street, Martin Luther King and Fleming at the corner. That's a cheap type of campaign. Rather than knock doors and ask people, may I put a sign in your yard? That's why they call yard signs. They're not called put them in the public right away illegal.
Well, he paying people to put signs.
Well,
in
you're
his
still
yard.
supposed to instruct your workers. No elected official is above the law.
He paying homeowners to have his sign in their yards.
Well, I'm concerned about the ones that's in the right of way.
Okay.
It's easy to just tell people to go stick them here and
there,
and don't do the work and knock doors. It's illegal. It's against the law, and you are the chief elected official, and people should enforce the law.
Right.
I called the building inspection and street maintenance department last week because normally what happens, they'll ride around and pick them up and put them behind City Hall.
They did that with Weaver last
In
time.
other words, all I'm saying is I don't like to see people break the law to get elected. I don't like to see people take credit for stuff they didn't do. But, you know, if you can fool people and be down in the middle of the Capitol with crowds of people coming to see Drew Hill or Ron Isley as the mayor, I remember when we made that project happen. It's just like the secondary water source. When we declared the water emergency and had to make tough decisions to start a secondary water source under Weaver, I don't like to see him take credit.
Yeah, he said it should have been done under the last administration, but we got it done. You heard him say it.
We started that, and think about it. When him and John Gleason held a press conference with the lady from the high rise down by Raleigh sitting in between them, I told people then that's illegal. You can't have a county clerk use his office to help you campaign. Both of them had been state representatives. And Gleason used his office to help Neely campaign, and Neely only won by what? 200 votes, because he told a lie that Weaver was passing out absentee ballots. Now, where's Gleason at right now? He's looking at, baby, he could go to the penitentiary.
Really?
Yeah, not only did he do that illegally, but he was doing something with marriage license and other stuff. They've taken Gleason off of the scene. And so
Kathy Funk from out there in Flint Township.
Neely had collaborated with that crookedness in the clerk's office, and he might not have won had he not did that lie.
Yeah.
The the degree. Um, Whether you got a degree or not, tell the truth. For 8, 9 years, he been telling us in the community he was a well-educated man with a degree from Saginaw Valley. That was
A
not
lie.
true.
Yeah.
It's a deception.
Yes.
If you look at the way that we had worked to get the emergency managers out,
Mhm.
the way we had created a $24 million surplus
Yes.
in the budget. Right now, as I sit here, budgetary wise, we're facing a $15 million deficit. In 3 years, he's went from a $24 million surplus to a $15 million projected deficit that we've got to fix before April or May of next year. And so that's why this ARPA fund budget is important. You've got a category for home improvements. You got a category for public safety, police, and you've got a category for lost revenue. And so those are the three focus areas.
Did you notice your two smart people that you put on there, they didn't allocate any funds for water?
Well, they're not that smart. They're not that smart. I told you I was trying to, in my leadership position,
Help.
share titles and wealth,
You did.
and was going to continue to lead them. But they got overzealous.
Mhm.
You know, when I signed up to run for mayor, then all hell broke loose in the president position.
Right.
And so we'll see how that's straightened out later. But right now, coming up this Monday,
Okay, this Monday.
last Monday or so, in the special meeting, you had Piper
Mhm.
and Worthing absent.
Yes.
They were absent.
Yes.
So you
yes. Yes.
had 2 council members
Yes.
absent,
Yes.
and you had 7 present
Yes. And you put a motion on the floor.
to approve the budget.
And they quickly got out of there. Oh, we didn't hear. Oh, they couldn't hear it
Do
in.
you know why?
Because they didn't have their votes, and if they would have voted, it would have failed, and they could have presented back before the council for 30 days.
And that means it wouldn't have came up
Before the election.
The reason this has come up now, and they called a special meeting now, because they wanted to approve this budget,
Mhm.
which is not proper.
No,
It
sir,
don't
it's
cover
not.
what needs to be covered, but they want to make those headlines.
Yep.
And then they want to stand the next day, in my opinion, with Mr.
No, you was
Neal
right.
saying we approved the ARPA
Uh-huh.
funds. These funds have sit there for over a year.
Yes.
I'll put another motion on the floor Monday in a couple of days if need be, but it will be with amendments.
But they not gonna go through that. You think they gonna sit there and go through that with you? And what made me
yeah.
mad yesterday when I was sitting here with Trevor, because I didn't know what some of this stuff meant. But
Yeah, you have to
Judy,
look at the details of the budget.
home
Proposed
education
budget.
is a class. What we need a home education class for to tell us our homes is messed
But
up.
look at it in big chunks. Look at the 70-some million, 94 million in big chunks.
Okay.
Don't look at it in all of these itemized things.
Okay.
First, look at it in big chunks. Chunk it out.
Okay.
One chunk, most residents would agree, most voters would agree. You got to fix that police department.
You got to.
You shouldn't be waiting 2 and 3 hours for public safety officers to arrive,
Right.
police and fire. You got to fix that. And that's one of the greatest responsibilities of an elected official, whether it's mayor or council, fix the police department.
Absolutely.
And when you fix the police department, it ain't just patrol officers,
Uh-huh.
it's patrol and detectives.
Okay.
If you look at the cases that came before us last week, one of them was an alleged police chase
Yeah.
that resulted in a fatality.
Yes.
Detective. If you look at the investigation in the fire,
Mhm.
and you know you got fire and arson investigations, we voted to turn that over to an independent
I thought
investigator.
y'all voted. Did that pass?
Yeah, because people are trying to cover up these serious fatalities of 2 children on Pulaski, a young person in the police chase, and they doing it because of an election.
If you can remember, Mr. Mays, can you tell the listening audience who voted in approval for that to be investigated?
Well, Liddell Lewis got up and ran. She didn't want to vote. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the people who called for an independent investigation was Jerry Winfrey Carter, Tanya Burns, Piper, Priestley, and myself. The five remaining council people who had the nerve to vote for an independent investigation as it relates to what the fire chief said. The fire chief said that he recommended that those officers be fired.
Yes, he did.
It's no different than the officer who put his knee on George Floyd's neck.
Yes.
You can feel sorry for them,
yeah.
but they did something wrong.
Yes.
They have to get prosecuted.
Yes.
They have to lose their position.
Yes.
And so the chief made the recommendation.
Yes, he did.
The human resource director, when the chief left out of town, said on the record, you can go see it, that Attorney Kim came and told him to reverse the chief's order.
Now, Attorney Kim didn't wake up one morning and do that.
That was Neely and Attorney Kim, and the scuttlebutt is that Neely didn't want this investigation to come out before the election. And so when you see a city mayor put death and fatalities secondary to his reelection, that's kind of appalling. That's a lack of character.
It is.
You got half-truths and lies about your education. You got selfishness. You're taking credit for stuff that started up under another administration. And you shouldn't do that.
No.
There's enough credit to go around.
Yes, it is.
If you really do the work, if you really do something significant, you don't have to just try to use a lot of big words and take credit for other people's work. You have to let your work speak for itself. Now, he had a golden opportunity since he's been in there to deal with these ARPA funds.
Yeah.
Now they're down to the last week of a council meeting before an election. Yeah. And I can guarantee you,
them people with the blue signs gonna be there again.
Man, them people with them blue signs saying pass this budget was a little misguided. They told me that Liddell Lewis had asked them to come to that council meeting.
Shut up! They said Liddell Lewis would come.
Yeah, you look at who you had there. You had that white guy who was passing out the Halloween trick-or-treat candy and the bottled water. He had passing out the signs, pass this budget. My heart go out to people like Mother Jones and a few of the people who stood up and said, pass this budget. They were asked to come down to lobby the council. It was about 12 of them.
Yeah, Nurse T, I was shocked about that.
Well, you got a stack of 600-700 people who wasn't in that budget.
Right.
I could not pass that budget if they was asking to be done without amending it. So when I made the motion to approve it caught Herkenroder and Priestley and them off guard.
They didn't know what to do.
They wouldn't even allow for a second to the motion to approve it. Now, Mother Jones and the white guy with the sign, they should have stood up and said, somebody second the motion.
Right,
they were there with signs saying approve it, but what had happened was it was not going to be approved without amendments.
I don't blame you. Can you let the people know what time you got that budget on Monday?
About 5 minutes or so before the council meeting. And they had called around and put this together with certain folks prior to the meeting. But in order for me to amend it, I had to make the motion to approve it.
Right.
And I'm sure that Jerry Winfrey Carter or Councilwoman Burns would have seconded my motion. You would have thought that Priestley or Liddell would have seconded my motion
it's theirs.
to approve it.
Right.
And you'd have thought that the people with signs would have been second the motion.
Right.
But they blocked it, wouldn't allow the second to the motion to approve the budget. And then they got up and left.
So did. You
And
said, now
broke
watch
the
them
law.
leave. Watch them leave. And they was leaving one by one too.
Right. So if that motion had have been second, then I would have did an amended motion to move about 12 million to the category of home improvements to take care of that stack of voters and people who's applied legitimately and more people who can't. So that's why I say you got to put that money in the big buckets.
Right.
If you want to get it to the people, put 12 or 20 million in the bucket for the residents. Put 10 to 12 million in a bucket for public safety, fixing the police department. When you look at this budget, now you know Flint ain't Chicago
Right.
or New York, but Flint deserves more than 20 cameras. If you got people calling saying Councilman Mays, they speeding on the corner of Holmes and Fleming,
And you know you getting the calls.
I'm getting the calls.
Holmes and Evans.
20
Yep. Google.
cameras ain't gonna cover the
Nope.
city of Flint, so I would have to amend that police budget from what they got it at. If I look on here and purchase 20 cameras, they got 200,000.
Yep.
That's what Priestley and Liddell recommended. I would make that about 3.2 million. And so therefore you can cover the
And
city.
I got so many questions for you, Councilman Mays. While I got you here, I gotta ask you my questions. So they got you said you would have did 3.2 million. But
For cameras.
For cameras.
I'd have did probably about 12 million for the police department overall, which includes the cameras.
But shouldn't they show you having enough respect to show you, or at least their colleagues, how they came up with these figures?
Well, in my opinion, they came up with them so they could call a press conference the next day prior to the election, and you'd have seen Priestley and Liddell Lewis standing with
Attorney
Mr.
Kim,
Neely
yep.
and Attorney Kim, them saying, we helping the people. But it would have been fake.
Right.
It wouldn't have been real because the devil is in the details. And so if you're going to try to pass these ARPA funds that have laid there for over a year, you want to do it right.
Right.
You don't want to deceive the people. You want to really do a budget that's going to help the people. If you're going to get rid of that $15 million projected deficit, remember I say you do it in buckets.
Right.
You got to put 15 million in the lost revenue column, which they didn't do in this budget. Now I've talked about three big buckets. I've talked about the bucket to help the residents and the voters who have applied, and some more are going to apply when they see that this application is real. I've talked about the public safety bucket, and I've talked about the lost revenue bucket. But I've only talked about 30 million of the 74 million or so. That still leaves 40 million. You could do a bucket with about 4 to 5 million in blight. We did 16 million to the land bank.
They need to get
You'll
that
see
money back.
Monday, you'll see about 3 million go toward the Buick City project.
Why though? I don't.
Well,
just explain
jobs
it to
is a
me.
good bucket. There's nothing wrong with jobs, but remember I asked, and I got an email yesterday. I said, if I'm gonna allocate 3 million to economic development with these big shots, I want to guarantee that they're gonna hire Flint people, Flint residents, and so forth and so on. And ain't gonna put something on Buick City and have people come from outside. So I got the email back yesterday on the answer to hiring Flint people. You have to get these commitments on the front end when you help the big shots. You say Mickey had his hand.
Yeah, because you got some questions in here for you. Kermit Lyons said, "Ask Mays why the police department still doesn't have body cams when they were approved last year."
Damn,
Well,
it sure
according to the
was.
chief of police, when he stood up
Good
there and we
question.
was asking him about the alleged, police chase,
Mhm.
just the other day, he say 100 body cams is in, and every officer had them. I think you can go back and look at that. Now, if that's true, then that body cam should evidence what happened outside of, it used to be Mona's, but Bites.
Okay.
And it should evidence whether or not there was a police chase on Pearson to Martin Luther King that
Right.
resulted in a fatality right before you get to Martin Luther King on Pearson, at that near that Family Dollar.
Right.
Now, the 23-year-old who survived the crash from his hospital bed, he said he had broken bones as a result of the police chase. So that's one witness. I've talked to a witness who says that, right, whether he's telling me the truth or a lie, he said the police got out their car with guns, and that's when the gentleman took off. So he said it was a chase. He said they had lights flashing and they was pursuing somebody who they had messed with at Mona's. They said one of them had spit on the car.
Yeah, I heard
So
that too.
when you have conflicting stories, the police department in the middle of an election tries to say it ain't a police chase, and we hearing that the order came from Neely. I don't want this to come up in the middle of an election. It could hurt me. And so I think it hurts him more by trying to cover it up.
Right.
I think he'd have been better off in both instances. Let the chief of police do his job.
Yep.
And let the fire chief
do his job.
Yep. Don't try to issue orders through Attorney Kim not to let this come out, because I'm trying to win an election for 4 more years. They did the same thing with me with Murdoch. When Murdoch jumped on me and Roots, and the state police did an independent investigation and said arresting Neely and Prosecutor Layden. I ain't biting my tongue. Neely and Prosecutor Layden covered it up. It's still laying there. No warrant has been issued yet. What messed them up was Murdoch did the same thing on the corner of Linden and Corona Road when he had a little alcohol and swung at those state police. I feel sorry for him, but I heard he got upset when Neely tried to disown him in the middle of all of that.
Yep, Neely leaked it.
You and others have found something out. Character matters. Honesty, truthfulness matters.
Yes, it does.
The devil is in the details. I went over some of this budget stuff with Mayor Weep.
Okay.
And so we're ready to get this money in that one pot of money into the voters' hands. We want to help voters. I got some in the mail yesterday from the county treasurer that will help people with their property tax. You know, there was 2 years during the COVID-19 where Deb Cherry and the county didn't foreclose on property because of COVID-19. I wouldn't mind putting $2 million in that pot, and the qualifications is if based upon the size of your household, your income, you could get relief for those 2 years of
and
COVID.
I wish they would have when they like because like all my questions I want to get out the loan to businesses and for like you said people that need stuff done with their houses.
I don't think it should be loans to businesses.
No, not for your own money.
I think it should be grants. This is grant money. Now you could set up some type of revolving loan, but I'm telling you, I like to see businesses get some grants.
Right. I don't agree with the loan.
I talked to Satara because of the store owner on DuPont in Pearson. We call him Zuzu. His name is Sahara. But you got them Indians and different people approaching him trying to buy that store on
Really?
DuPont and Pearson, yeah, because his son them don't want it, and he want to sell it to somebody black, and the selling price is about 850,000, and so I want somebody black to have it.
You
It's
should get
up
you
and
some
running.
investors. That them people at
I'm
that
a
store love
councilman.
you.
My job is to help people, and so I want to help somebody black own that store.
It should be.
Because you know that store might gross and make like 1.3 million a year.
Yes.
If you can get it for 800,000,
You got it
you got
made.
it. Yeah, it's up and running. So those are the type business grants and historical change. We always talk about helping black folks in business. That's a pot of money. When I brought 600,000 to the table for the North Flint Food Market, had they passed that, that store might be opening
Open right
now.
now. Yeah.
But remember, Priestley, the Republican, was talking about how much the popcorn popper
Yeah.
costs.
White stuff, the
this,
water
that, and the
faucet.
other.
Yeah.
When Mike came forward to give St. Agnes, the House of Esther, 108,000, they wouldn't take his 108,000. Talking about he owed taxes and Quincy.
He owed taxes, but not on that
the
property.
people who they was giving it to. So you know, you got some ridiculousness in these politics, and that's why I've been supporting Weaver, because I'm knowing what Neely is doing.
Right.
He's fooling people. He's telling half truths and lies. He could be covering up some fatalities. I know what happened in the cover up when the deputy chief of staff jumped on me and sent me to Hurley. And then when you got Liddell Lewis and Priestley don't understand, and we got to move this money around.
Well, that's why
I'm going to try to do it
because
Monday.
they didn't understand it. They didn't even know the whole business center was. How you not know the whole business center was open?
That kind of tripped me out.
Look, he got his hand up again.
Can I answer that, Eric, for you?
Well, you know, this is her show. I'm just a
Yeah,
guest.
because-
Our shop.
Yeah, but can I answer them? Can I answer
Go
this
ahead,
question?
Vicky.
Because I want to say that. Remember the one we was doing Fly City Blackout, right?
He was down there.
No, but he knew about because Eric came down and did. Liddell came and did an interview when they was running for council.
Liddell is on a commercial trying to help Neely get elected. I seen it the other day. When you get caught up, sometimes you lose your mind.
Yeah.
Folks can get caught up. You got caught up before, right?
Yes, sir. I
You
did.
believed in Mr. Neely.
I
You
did.
believe he was straight up. His character was right. You probably believed he had a degree. He was an educated guy, and you probably believed he was honest. We learned with Trump, character matters.
Yes.
In politics, character matters.
Yes, it does.
They might not like how I deliver my message. They might not like when I call folks Uncle Toms and Republicans, but it's true.
Yeah,
And
get
so
their attention.
you can't tell everybody across the city, because right now it's 8,000, over 8,000 absentee ballots sent out. 4,000 people have already voted.
Wow.
Them 4,000 people that have already voted, they don't know. What I've seen so far in this election, half of them like Neely and half of them like Weaver.
Right.
In the last two elections, half of them like Neely and half of them like Weaver.
Right.
I'm hoping that the 4,000 who ain't voted yet, and this is just the absentee, can hear some of these messages, tell their friends and neighbors, we need to vote this way, because it'll be miserable for me to sit down in the middle of that crowd for 4 more years with deception, half truths and lies, so somebody can walk around making 5,000 every 2 weeks for themselves. This is a person who is more self-centered for themselves than trying to help people and give people credit for what they do. I remember when Clarissa Shields was in high school and
Wow.
she started her career in boxing. I don't know the very beginning with her
Okay.
in Crutchfield then, but I do remember us sitting. She was boxing and for the gold, and we was all around and we supporting
You
her.
traveled out of town to see her
Yeah,
fight
and
and
then
stuff.
she
Yeah.
came back and we supported her. And so I look at her career now, and we had to vote to rename the street.
Mhm.
But this guy is taking credit all for his own. And so I posted a picture on my Facebook page yesterday when she had some of her belts and Weaver was standing there. I did that on purpose to post
Yeah,
that
and they talking
because
about that.
Oh, look
well,
at
they
Weaver
talk
trying
about
to
it. No,
stand
I
with Clarissa.
posted that.
Yeah, but they saying.
Look at Weaver trying to
When
take a
I
picture
see
with
her, yeah. Well, look at Neely taking pictures. Everybody can take pictures with Clarissa if we're one Flint, like they say. But that's hypocritism. We ain't one Flint. We got Mr. Neely and some of his cronies criticizing our relationship that we've had with Clarissa Shields.
Yes.
We've got Neely and some of his cronies criticizing what we're trying to do with this budget
Yes.
in order to make sure that residents and voters get their fair share. We got people criticizing us for asking for an investigation as it relates to two children who might not have had to die on Pulaski in a house fire. We got people and cronies criticizing us because we're asking for an independent investigation on an alleged police chase. You look at all these police incidents around the country and never have people criticize folks trying to get to the bottom of the truth. You got people criticizing us because we said that we had declared the emergency for the water crisis and got emergency managers out and had $24 million surplus. Those are political cronies. They're to forgive them, but they know not what they do and say. And so that's why I sit here with you. I sit here with Tanya Burns and even Woodson there. Y'all were the margin of victory in that last race between Weaver and Neely.
Yeah.
And you learned something.
Sure did.
I sit on the council with him.
Mm-hmm.
I helped him win when he first was on the go on the council.
Because we never had
did
a
his
black
absentee.
over in Sixth Ward.
I did Ed Taylor's campaign, who he hired 2 weeks ago to come up and bash me. That kind of hurt me to my heart.
I could tell
When
he
I
was
seen
like,
him.
really?
Yeah, Ed Taylor. Well, that's how I met Gary Green and Don DeRed and all of these Northern Vikings when I
Okay.
come over there the last 6 months of my senior year and graduated from Northern. But that kind of crushed me when Ed Taylor out the clear blue sky, cloaking for Neely, got up in a public council meeting and said that this form was something I invented on Facebook. I went and watched it 2 times, 3 times. He said it was fake.
Yep.
He said I was fooling people. Now here I am, 10 years into my career, had helped him before Jackie Poplar beat him. And I'm telling you, that was tripping me out.
Yeah.
I say, this guy, I turned my back. And he gets up on the mic. Neely didn't give him 2-week salary. Been there for 2 weeks, and he gonna come in knowing more than me about this application. And I say that application is real. I say this guy is discrediting himself, telling people it's something I invented on Facebook and it's fake. And I say he doing that. And I tried to rhyme. I say he doing that for 30 pieces of silver and 1 coin of gold. He done sold his soul.
Sold his soul.
And you know him and Charlotte Edwards and Billy and them sitting around talking, and he ain't even in Flint no more. He done built his house out there somewhere on Elms Road in Montrose. It's a lot of people who nearly could have given that job to his Flint residents. So why he picked Ed Taylor, I think it had something to do with me
Well, I
and
know it
his
has something
relationship.
to do with you.
We call Ed Monty.
Okay.
You know, that's what we say. You know, they say Ed Taylor, we say Monty. And so I was talking to Miller down there in North Carolina. He come out with us in '76, and we all tripping.
Okay.
We like, why Monty come up there for Neely trying to discredit and bash you? He really discredited and bashing himself. Then he came back the next meeting trying to overtalk me. I was going to have the police take Monty or Ed Taylor out of there, because you're not going to run this council
Right.
meeting. And then I seen him talking to the lady who had been calling me because her son was killed in that alleged police
Miss
chase.
Davis, yeah.
So I say, now they
Miss
done brought
Quincy calling. She got up there and she was ready to talk, and she said, "But I just got a call from I don't know if she said Councilman Murphy, but she said she got a call from Quincy, and she said, so I'm just gonna let my attorney talk." And she said, why would council be calling this
with
lady?
the right attorney, whether it's Spiger or whoever, and I told her, you know, that's what you need. And even one where David talking about who he wouldn't let talk. There's nothing wrong with involving the city council, because just like I said to Chief Green, if there's an allegation of a police chase cover-up, if there's an investigation going on, this officer should be at least suspended with pay.
Yes.
You can suspend them with or without pay to the investigation, but at least suspended with pay. But when we keep hearing cover-ups because of an election, that's where character matters. The mayor is involved in this. You think all of this stuff is going on with the fire department and the police department, and the chiefs know, but Neely don't. Do you believe that?
Nope, Shelton know everything from what time they turn on the lights at City Hall until who the last
And
one to come out
gives
the garage.
orders. And
I know he
gives
do.
orders. He shouldn't be covering up.
And then he got on the
Character
radio
matters.
this morning talking about.
I didn't hear it. What was happening this morning?
I listened to the last 2
I
minutes.
like to listen
I
to
don't.
it. What
But
was being
but
said?
what he said, prayer and partnership, and we gotta stay away from the half truths and the misinformation. I'm like, that's you. but if you tired of people telling half truths and misinformation, according to him, why won't you debate?
He used that term, the cliche, prayer, planning, and partnership. Now we all pray, we plan, and even me and you sitting here now
As a partnership.
Partnership.
Right.
It's a cliche, but you have to mean it.
Right.
If you're gonna have prayer, planning, and partnership, when you lie and tell half truth, you should ask for forgiveness.
You sure should.
That's a prayer. Ask for forgiveness. And then we might be okay with you. The Lord forgive. It ain't on us. If you planning, then you don't just plan with Liddell, Lewis, and Priestley and Herkenroder. You plan with Jerry Winfrey Carter,
The whole
Councilman Mays, Tanya Burns, and all. That's planning. The council is key. You can't allocate and spend millions of dollars to help the residents without the council. You can't say prayer, planning, and partnership and call certain members of the council insurrectionists. Do you know the term insurrectionist right now is referring to people who broke windows at the Capitol, was walking around with long guns,
Yes.
I'm not an
No,
insurrectionist.
you're not.
Just because I don't agree with your budget
Right.
and want to amend it, that don't make me an insurrectionist. You just mad because I wouldn't let you get to that press conference prior to the election
But
when
you
you
can't
wanted
pass
to.
that money. That's too much money to talk about, and they're gonna give you what, 5 minutes?
That's
3
what
minutes?
the agenda said.
No, no,
You get five,
no,
two 5-minute rounds.
no.
Now, you know I didn't appoint nobody on no ad hoc committee to give me two 5-minute rounds to discuss 70-some million dollars.
Yeah.
Now, what I did, if you look at what I did now
I
that
see you
I've
did a lot
added,
of homework.
yeah, I'm ready to make amendments. Let's see if Monday, because I'm predicting, even though I've asked for a resolution to be drawn up for 2 months for House Esther, no resolution from the legal department and Neely and Attorney Kent.
Attorney
Even
Kemp,
though-
you know, he contributed to Neely's campaign, so he's doing everything Neely said.
Yeah, he was at the campaign fundraiser, didn't know who was sitting talking to him, and as the legal person, he was concentrating on how to get rid of Councilman Mays off the council. Yeah, they heard him and come back and told me. He don't even know who we be talking to.
Oh,
Now
damn.
check this out. I asked for a resolution because not only is it House Esther, you got 12 residential houses, Home Street, Fleming, Holbrook, where people living in, and I asked for those resolutions to be brought. You done had my request for legal documents to be drawn up. They skipping over. They did a resolution to kind of try to get rid of Inez Brown.
That was.
My
that
stuff
made
still
me-
laying there.
Yeah.
Now you
Did
know
they tell you you had to put it in writing?
we did put it
They
in
said
writing.
put it in writing.
We did put it
Yeah.
in writing. I've got a staff and they put it in writing, and so we still ain't got it. Watch this.
Mhm.
Monday you'll see a resolution for this proposed budget. It's just leapfrogging over my request for resolutions. That city attorney got to go. Neely got
Hey,
to
you
go.
know you gonna tell it plain. They got to
Neely
go.
got to go
Yeah.
because the charter says each individual council person can request that resolutions be drawn up by legal. It don't say that you leapfrog them and
Right.
let them lay there for 2-3 months. Remember this lie and half truth. Neely has told people on 1420 AM, I've introduced more ordinances and resolutions than any council person in the history of the city of Clinton.
Yep, that's what he said.
That ain't true.
You cracking up, but that's what he
That's a
said.
lie.
That's what he
I'm
said.
listening to it. If you got somebody who every time they open their mouth,
I did.
for the most part, I won't say every time, I'm gonna say 70-80% of the time. I don't want to be wrong. 30%, 40%, but that's too many lies and half truths and taking credit from an elected sitting mayor.
Yeah.
That's just like all them yard signs. It's illegal.
Yeah.
You should be instructing your campaign. Don't want to win so bad. Now, this guy wouldn't know how to feel if he loses this election. It would be embarrassing to him because
he should be embarrassed.
Cynthia Neely on the Democratic side should win. On the mayor's race, which is nonpartisan, Neely really should lose. Weaver should win. When he had Gretchen Whitmer, the governor, on CNN, because it said Gretchen Whitmer endorses the mayor of the city of Flint who lied about his degree. That was embarrassing. You took the words out of my mouth. He embarrassed her and she ain't been really back
He said that,
campaigning with.
what's that other man name? The lieutenant. What's his
Oh,
name?
Garland Gilbert.
Now they sent him down here a couple times to, to make it seem like they still
Man,
interacting.
That embarrassed her.
So did.
On CNN, Fox, and the way the white mainstream media wrote it, they didn't have to put her in there.
No.
They could have just said the
Flint
mayor
Mayor
of the
lied.
city of Flint lies
Mhm.
about his degree, but they said
Whitmer endorsed.
Governor Whitmer
Mhm.
endorses the mayor of the city of Flint who lies about his degree, and she stepped back.
Yep.
Now, what tripped me out about her is when Weaver was in office, she was all over at Chris Martin's church asking us for support and calling me by name. People.
She had Weaver's face on the
And
side
right,
of her voice.
that same way with Pastor Chris Martin. He used to be on talk shows with Weaver. And so I say these people is so funny style.
Yeah.
Now, if Weaver win and if she beat
When
Neely,
she win and when she
watch
beat.
how many people gonna start changing.
I told Mickey you ain't gonna be able to get. You're gonna have to wave. Hey, how you doing? Because they gonna be lining up trying to get back to it.
Whoever's in office, I guess that's what they did with Trump, Kanye West now. You know, that's the funniest politics I ever seen. You don't just go around people because they in office at that time.
Mhm.
You should vote and go around people based upon their character,
Their
their
record.
honestness,
Right.
their record, their truthfulness. When you look at the record of Mr. Neely over the last 3 years,
Because he said compare our records.
that's what he said, compare the record. You got 3, 4, 5 keys to the city.
3,
You
4,
got
5.
a statue. Oh, maybe it's more.
Manning gave out more keys. Y'all need to change the damn locks to the city.
But what you ain't got is you ain't got a $24 million budget surplus. You got a projected $15 million deficit. That's key. You had record homicides and crime last year. And so you don't want to break another record this year. It went down a little bit
From the record last year.
Right. So you don't say crime is down. You say crime is down from the record number we had last year. It should be down. But when you look at the trend nationwide, and I looked at it this morning and listened to it, they had a report on that.
Okay.
You had record numbers, and then it done dropped about 5% on a national scale, down from some of the records last year. And so
I got a couple more questions for you while you got that in your hand. $600,000 for hiring
who
bonuses.
asking that question?
This is me. I went through the budget the last week and I made a post and I wrote down everything so I wouldn't forget. Okay.
So we're gonna wrap it up.
So-
You got 5 minutes to do it. Yeah, because it's over an hour.
Okay. We got 5 minutes to do it. Okay. So $600,000 and I heard that all the police haven't even been paid yet for their hiring bonuses. That's troubling to me.
Yeah, those hiring bonuses, I've heard that folks hadn't been paid, and I haven't studied it, so I can't speak on it. I'd have to take a closer look at it, but that'll be disappointing if people have not got paid their hiring bonus.
Police training, $100,000. Don't they have their own budget? Why would something like that come out of ARPA? I don't understand. And hopefully you could.
Well, you got a lot of stuff in here on these line items that's being proposed with ARPA funds because it's more of a press conference than substance.
Okay.
This is a fight to try to say the week or two before the election that we're allocating ARPA funds. That's why Monday, if the real people come down, and I'm not saying that Mother Jones and others wasn't real people, that handful of 12, but if the real people come down, you want to see a change in this to put 12 to 15 million to try to get to the residents.
Okay.
You want to see a change in this of more than 20 cameras and an adequate police budget. You want to see a change in this in the lost revenue category in order to try to fix the 15 million projected budget deficit. You don't want them to do a press conference where the mainstream media, Channel 12, Mid-Michigan now is standing
Right,
with
that's all.
Liddell, Lewis,
Right.
and Priestley's name with an inadequate budget budget.
What you think about the speed humps? $200,000, and they gotta
You
go back
need
and pick
more
up the
than
ones they just put down.
$200,000 for the budget for speed humps. The $200,000. Remember, $75,000 was the budgeted amount for just the 6th ward over there
Oh, I
by
didn't know that was on El Dorado.
over there by El Dorado
Yeah,
and Clement. When you see
Yeah.
them speed humps, that
Yeah.
was
and they
75,000
gotta go pick them back up.
because of the winter and the
Yeah.
snowplow. They tell me. So if you got 9 wards and you only proposing 200,000 for speed
You're
humps,
not giving all
this
the
is
awards.
a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you did 100,000 times 9, that's
You already know the math.
900,000. It ain't 200,000. So this is a game being perpetrated for
2.9
election
million
purposes.
for parks. What's up with all of these parks and state parks? I think it's a good idea. People need places to go, but when the city looks
Remember,
like a damn bomb,
You only got 5 minutes to discuss this.
oh, that's right. He didn't give us 5 minutes too. Like that council going, yeah, we're gonna call him evil.
That's like, this is, we on the
We only got
chit- we on
5
the
minutes to
chit-chat
talk
circle,
about it, right?
But we only got 5 minutes, because it's airtime and commercials,
Right.
He got Pillsbury and
You know
Betty
it.
Crocker,
You know it.
he got Kraft and Jiffy and them, all these sponsors,
Right. So
So
we only got
I just want
5
you to see
minutes.
how 5 minutes
Yeah,
is
that was
when you-
nothing. You can't do this in 5 minutes, Mr. Mays. You just can't do it. You can't do it. That can't happen at a council meeting.
Well, they had orders from Neely and Ed Taylor and others to
Talk
limit
about it.
this to 5 minutes and push it through. But they had Piper and Worthing was absent.
Eva be there
And they
Monday.
didn't have the vote. Yes,
It's a big vote. She'll show up.
She showing up be reckless.
No,
Now when November comes, Weaver win. Eva, Quincy,
Liddell.
I don't know, but 2 or 3 of them gonna get recalled.
Yeah.
If Neely win, I don't know how that's gonna fare. Remember when Hergenroder, Quincy, and Liddell won, them council races was won by some of them 50, 75 votes. Neely mailed out illegal literature on their behalf.
You finally said who did it. I never knew.
We've been saying who did it in a certain way.
Okay.
We said that when we researched where the literature had come from, it had came from the same printer down in Detroit where Neely's stuff had come from. So
They
that
said
ain't
you
the
could be
real
grading
council.
papers at the meeting, and that's another thing.
That
When the
ain't the
public,
real council.
when the public be
How
up
many
there
men
talking.
we got? 2.
Wait a minute. When the public is
2
up there
minutes.
talking.
Point of order.
No, wait a minute. When the public is up there talking, the council people should put their phones down and listen to the members of the public. Now I think that's what should happen.
Hey, it's a lot to digest. 4,000 people have voted early. It's another 4,000 out there. This race between Neely and Weaver twice has been so close. And so I'm hoping that them 4,000 absentees that's out there, Weaver, and more Weaver.
Right.
I've come out publicly. I'm doing what I can do.
Yes.
Telling people, throwing my support behind Weaver. Y'all done learned something about Neely. There's certain people who ain't learned yet. And then how many people go to the polls. So I'm going to pray on it. I said Jesus wept. You asked me to pray. But I'm also going to say, trust in God with all thine heart. Lean not to their own understanding. Acknowledge him in all thy ways. And hopefully he'll direct our path.
Yes, sir.
I hope we can pull this off
We
and
will.
get Flint back on the right track. He never should have won by 200. Let's see if we can pick back up where we left off at. God bless the residents of the city of Flint.
Peace.
Thank you.